This is History Myths and Mythconceptions, and today's myth is coins on the eyes of the dead. There is a practice of placing coins on the eyes of the dead, which is usually perceived as some ancient tradition that can be traced back to Antiquity, because there was this mythological ferryman Charon who transports the souls across the river Styx, or Acheron, and requires payment in coins. So you have to provide the recently deceased with some money, or else something bad might happen. All of this is not entirely true, or probably not even true at all. The practice of placing coins on the eyes is still observed every now and then in some cultures, but everybody knows about it mostly because it was quite widespread in Victorian England, and sometimes in the United States in the same period. Obviously, the number of followers of ancient Greek or ancient Roman religions in Victorian England was somewhere around zero. Also, there is no uninterrupted transmission of knowledge between antiquity and the modern era, with some exceptions. So it is hard to imagine how ancient Greek tradition could travel through the centuries to Britain, of all places. Yes, some ancient religious practices mutated into Christian practices, but definitely not this one. The link between this British practice and the burial practices of antiquity was almost certainly a later invention. Needless to say that the overwhelming majority of population in the 19th century knew nothing about Charon or Greek mythology. Educated minority? Yes, because classical studies formed the backbone of higher education. Students had to learn Latin and ancient Greek and read the available ancient texts. It was only a question of time when somebody would have spotted the obvious similarity. Over time, this similarity grew into a strange idea that, people in 19th century Christian England somehow followed the tradition of paying the ferryman with exactly 2 coins and inherited it from ancient Greeks themselves. No, not really. The coins served a different purpose. Also, it seems that Greeks never placed coins on the eyes of the dead, which makes the situation even worse. So the reason for placing coins on the eyes was entirely practical. It's all about rigor mortis and the transformations which happen to a human corpse. If you close the eyes of the recently deceased, there is a good chance that the eyes would pop open later, which looks quite scary. And instead of freaking everyone out with sunken open eyes of the corpse, people just decided to put something on the eye sockets for cosmetic purposes. Coins were a logical choice, just like tying up the jaw was, and still is, a logical choice to prevent the mouth from opening. What ancient Greeks did well, it's not entirely clear, but the excavations usually imply that there was a tradition of placing a coin into the mouth of the dead. Not the eyes, the mouth. Not 2 coins, but 1. This practice is conventionally called Charon's obol. Obol is a small coin. It wasn't necessarily an obol, and it is quite possible that it wasn't even for Charon sometimes. But yes, they did this, and there is a certain correlation with the myths that came down to us. For example, we know a number of characters who were traveling to Hades and back, sometimes more than once, like Heracles. And there is a story that explicitly features 2 coins instead of 1. The first coin is used to pay Charon for the passage to the underworld, and another to pay him for the return ticket. Both coins are supposed to be in the mouth. I'm referring here to the metamorphosis of Apuleius, also known as the Golden Ass. Book 5 features the famous story of Cupid and Psyche, where Psyche is sent to the underworld by Venus, with 2 coins. It must be mentioned, as a side note, that, first of all, the Metamorphosis of Apuleius is a Roman novel. actually the only ancient Roman novel that survived in its entirety. It is generally attributed to the 2nd century and considered authentic, although you can switch into conspiracy mode and challenge the attribution. So yeah, putting two coins on the ice is not really an ancient Greek or ancient Roman tradition. They didn't expect the dead to return, crossing the river once again. The river Styx, obviously, or Acheron. It's not clear which of the rivers was serviced by Charon. Usually it is Acheron. The Victorian tradition most probably has nothing to do with paying money to the ferryman. It is just a later attempt to add to the practice some romantic ancient roots.